Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm really glad you're here, and this is my first installment of a brand new thing I'm doing that I'm going to call Coach's Corner. Okay, so what is Coach's Corner? Coach's Corner is going to be like this. I'm going to do it in place of what I eat in a day once a month. So it's not that I'm taking what I eat in a day away. I'm just going to do this once a month instead of what I eat in a day. And the reason I'm doing that is this. The program is not just about what we eat, okay? Well, let me back up. In case you're new to my channel, in case you just hopped on and you don't know who this crazy woman is, my name is Melissa. I'm an independent coach for Optavia, which teaches the Habits of Health program. I used this program back in 2019 to lose 60 pounds. Here's a picture of that journey. So in 2019, I lost 60 pounds. 2020, I gained some of that back. And so 2021, I'm doing the program the right way. And we're going to get into that a little bit today. And that's the reason for this new segment called Coach's Corner. Because what I realized is by only doing Let's Cook a Lean and Green and what I eat in a day, I'm only sharing one aspect, just one small part of the program, because the Habits of Health is not just about what we eat. It's about truly changing our habits. It's about understanding nutrition, understanding why we do the things we do, why our brain reacts to food the way it does, all kinds of things, you guys. So the reason that I gained some of my weight back in 2020, well, I dealt with a lot of stress, a lot of personal, emotional things, but so did everybody else. And not everybody gained 20 pounds in 2020. So why did I? The reason I did is because while I was losing weight in 2019, all I was doing was following a food structured program. I wasn't changing my habits. And some of the habits that I was creating along the way, 5-in-1-ishing it, I took it into my maintenance. Well, what happens when you do that? Okay, so if you are doing the 5-in-1, which is 5 fuelings and 1 lean and green, if that's the program you're on and you're tweaking it, you're 5-in-1-ishing it, meaning, oh, I go off a little here, I go off a little there, you're creating that habit, you guys. That's a habit you're creating. Are you still gonna lose weight? You are. It's gonna go slower, which is what it did for me. It took me longer than most because, I'll be honest, I kind of 5-in-1-ished it quite a bit. It was still the most effective thing I've ever used, even doing it that way, but I don't recommend doing it that way, and here's why. I took those habits into my maintenance. And what happens when you take them into your maintenance, instead of, well, I'm not gonna calculate my condiments maybe, or I'm not gonna weigh everything. No, if you're 5-in-1-ishing it, you're gonna maintenance-ish it also, and that becomes bigger, especially when you involve stress, okay? Because I'm an emotional eater. I have learned that. I've also learned that I'm something that's called a food addict, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that today too. These are the things I want to cover. I want to cover what happens on the weekend, and I call that the what the heck effect. Part of it is the what the heck effect. And I want to talk to you a little bit about food addiction, and I mostly want to talk to you about getting into these books, okay, you guys? Because this is what I did not do, and y'all are going to get tired of hearing me say this, but part of the reason I'm doing this Coach's Corner is, in lieu of one of my what I eat in a days, a month, is because some of you have reached out to me and said, I love your what I eat in a days. I love that you show us what we eat, and that's good. But could you incorporate the Habits of Health too? Could you incorporate your coaching in it too? Because we need that just as much as we need to see what we're supposed to eat. Well, duh. How did I not get that? I didn't get it because I wasn't doing it. So now I'm doing it. All right. So let's start with the weekend. All right. One thing a lot of my clients tell me is I do great during the week. I do great during the week. And then the weekend hits, not so great. So what happens? So a friend of mine, Pam, and I, we were talking about this very thing the other day. And she gave me such great insight. She said, I've been thinking a lot about that. And she said, I think what happens, and she's so smart. She said, I think what happens is during the week, our life is very structured. Our life is super structured during the week. We get up at the same time every day. We go to work. We eat at the same time pretty much every day. A lot of us don't go out to eat a lot during the week. We cook at home because we're doing our lean and greens. We go to bed at a good time because we have to get up early. So we're in very good structure. So it's pretty easy, to stay in your 5-in-1 structure. But then the weekend comes. What happens? We sleep late. We go and blow a lot more. We go out to eat a lot more. And all those things are okay. But what we do is we just it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We throw all of our structure out. And then this is what happens. So you get up late, you meander around, you forget to have your fueling because you're out of your routine. Then the hubby or the wife says, hey, let's go to IHOP and have breakfast because it's Saturday morning. And that's what we used to do. And so, okay, well, sometimes you'll take, you'll be good and you'll have a shake or you'll have your lean and green, at IHOP, which you could do. You could have like a frittata or something like that, an omelet. You could work it. But sometimes you're like, I'm just going to have the pancake. I'm just going to have one little pancake. And then there comes the what the heck effect. So how does that work? So you make an off-plan choice. I am not going to call it a cheat. I'm not going to say you fell off the wagon. I'm not going to say you failed, okay? That's all negative self-talk. That has no place here, none. All you did was make a choice to eat a pancake. There's no morality to that. Now, by doing that, are you kind of sabotaging your success a little bit? You are, because you're risking throwing yourself out of fat burn. You're risking cravings coming back, all those things. So my best advice is don't eat the pancake. Don't eat the pancake. But if you do eat the pancake, do not let the rest of your weekend turn into what the heck. So what that means is you eat the pancake and then you're like, I ate a pancake for breakfast, so what the heck? I'll just have pizza for lunch. I had pizza for lunch, so what the heck? I'll have the dessert after dinner. Yeah, give me the cheesecake. That's the what the heck effect. Who's been there? I've been there. I'll start over on Monday. I'll start fresh on Monday. I'll be solid on Monday. Well, guess what? You're creating habits. You are creating habits that you're going to take into your maintenance. And instead of just not counting your condiments, just tweaking it on the weekends, when you take those habits into maintenance, when you're starting to reintroduce all the things that you let go of, it snowballs. And it snowballs quick. So don't do that. Please, please, please don't do that. How do you avoid that? Well, 2 ways. One way is to put some structure in your weekend. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be rigid. I'm not saying you have to get up at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning because that's what you always do. No, go ahead and sleep in. Enjoy your Saturday. Go out to dinner. That's okay. But bring your good, healthy habits along with you. If you sleep in till 9, that's all right. If you stay up a little later, that's okay too. But you still want to eat within an hour of waking up. You still want to get a minimum of 64 ounces of water in. You still want to make your on-plan choices for your lean and green. All those things need to go with you. If you're going to get out and run a lot of errands and be gone, and you say to yourself, I better take a fueling with me. If you think you need 1 fueling, take 3. On the weekends especially, just take 3. Throw them in your purse, put them in your glove box, whatever you need to do, because I would much, much rather you have too many fuelings with you than not enough. Because if you're out and about and you're 2 hours from getting home and you're hungry, that's not a good situation to be in. Your body needs fuel. And if you don't give it fuel, your blood sugar is going to tank and then you're going to be really hungry. And by the time you eat again, you're going to overeat, okay? Or you're going to end up going through a drive-thru and getting something you shouldn't get. Have your fuelings with you. Plan ahead. That's all it takes. The second thing you can do to avoid the what the heck effect and to bring that structure into your weekend is to be solidly into these books that teach us the full program. It teaches us about triggers. It teaches us about putting structure in even on the weekends. It teaches us all the things, okay? The first time I did this, which was 2019 when I lost that 60 pounds, I barely touched these books. I got in them when I had to, when I knew I was going to discuss it. And y'all, this is shameful. But when I knew I was going to discuss it with a client, I made sure I read, I had that book with me so that I could intelligently talk about, what they were talking about. You know, and I'll be honest, most of my clients are not great about getting in the book, and that's because I didn't model it for them. I didn't encourage that. So this year that is changing, and they are getting sick and tired of hearing me talk about these books. But sorry, not sorry. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is addiction. Well, what place does addiction have in this conversation? Okay, we're not at an AA meeting. You know what? But addiction is addiction. You guys, addiction is addiction. It does not matter the substance. All right, I just learned something very cool in this other book I'm reading. All right, first of all, okay, I want to make sure I have so much stuff swimming around in my head right now that I want to share with y'all, so I'm trying to keep it, okay. Okay, so this other book I'm reading, and it's just basically a nutrition book written by a fabulous lady. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. But what I learned was about a hormone called leptin, Leptin. All right. So our bodies produce a hormone called leptin. What leptin does, it regulates our hunger, okay? And it actually is released from our fat cells. So people who are overweight actually secrete more leptin. Their body creates more leptin than thinner people. Okay, well, hey, wait a minute. So leptin controls hunger, yet people who are overweight are secreting more leptin. That doesn't make sense. Because I know when I was 60 pounds overweight, I was hungry all the time. It's like I couldn't get full. Why is that? Well, it's because your body creates another thing that blocks leptin. And do you know what that is? Insulin. Your insulin, an overproduction of insulin, too much insulin, will block leptin from sending the signal to your brain, you're full, you've had enough, stop eating. So what causes you to have an overabundance of insulin? A high processed sugar and flour diet, period. End of story. No other reason. We don't get oversurges of insulin because we binge on fruit. I know fruit has naturally occurring sugar. So does milk and dairy, dairy products, yogurt. There ain't none of us that got overweight eating too much fruit and yogurt, y'all. Let's just get real for a minute. We got overweight because we eat too much bread. We eat too much of the donuts, of the chips and salsa. The chips and salsa at every Mexican food restaurant. Oh, yum. The tortillas. Sugar and flour. Sugar and flour. Okay. So when you eat those things, your body produces a lot of insulin. And when it does that, it blocks the leptin response. Okay. So that's why, have you ever done this? Have you ever gone through an entire bag of chips or a whole sleeve of Oreos or Ritz crackers and you're like, wow, how did I do that? I just went through all of it, just ate it all. That's because your insulin was being released big time, blocking your leptin. So your brain was never telling you, stop eating. Stop, for the love of God, stop. It was not telling you that because your leptin was being blocked by the food you were putting in your mouth. Y'all, this my mind was blown. So it all of a sudden made sense to me why, even though I was eating 2,000, 2,500, 300,000 calories a day, I was hungry all the time. It was the things I was eating. All right, what does this have to do with food addiction? Okay, this has to do with food addiction because of something I just read in here. It all fits together, you guys. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I'm telling you, get in this book. All right, y'all are just gonna have to nerd out with me for a second on the sciencey stuff. I get real geeky about the sciencey stuff. All right, hold on, let me get to the page. I should have marked it. I tell you, I'm such a squirrel. Okay, here it is. All right, this is back in the book where he's teaching us about transitioning, our forever diet, because you stay on 5 and 1 while you're losing weight. And then once you reach your goal, we put you through transition. And transition usually lasts 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how you want to do it. But the process of transition is while you're reintroducing some whole foods and things that you haven't eaten in a while, things like fruit, potatoes, bread, things like that. As you slowly reintroduce those, you're also lessening your fuelings. So he's helping us in this chapter that I'm reading how to create that healthy diet, okay? Because the goal is not for you to stay on 5 and 1 forever. Now, a lot of people in their maintenance, they do continue to use fuelings as a part of their healthy diet, and you can absolutely do that. Or you don't have to. You can go 100% whole foods. Either way, what I'm about to share with you is important. Okay, so in this little section, he titles it White Powder. The white powder. And this is what it says. Y'all, this blew my mind. All right, coca chewing, C-O-C-A. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Coca chewing and drinking coca tea is carried out daily by millions of people in the Andes. It is considered sacred within indigenous cultures and does not cause any harm. In fact, it is beneficial to human health. But as you will know, the coca leaf can be refined and turned from a healthy natural food into a dangerously addictive substance. Do you know what that substance is? Most of you probably do. Cocaine. Okay? Cocaine comes from a coca leaf. I always knew that. I did. Always knew that. But what I did not know is that the coca leaf itself is actually very healthy. It's really good for you. Has lots of health benefits. So I'm like, well, what made it unhealthy then? Refining it. The process of refining stripped all the goodness away, and what was left was this white powder that is dangerously addictive and bad for you. Okay, so they took something good and healthy and they ruined it. Okay, guess what else that's happened to? Well, let's see what Dr. Anderson says. That is exactly what has happened with sugar cane and flour. They have been turned from a healthy food with great nutritional value into cheap, readily available calories that have little or no nutritional value and create metabolic and inflammatory havoc. They are also highly addictive. Did you know that? You know that flour and sugar are just as addictive as cocaine. In fact, there's a study that I can't remember the name of it. If I can find it, I'll put it at the bottom here. But it was a study done, and it proved that not only is sugar addictive, it is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And here's a brain scan that he puts in here. Okay, this brain scan right here that's really lit up, that's a brain on sugar. This one's on cocaine. Now, they're both lit up very similarly, but the pleasure centers in this one is actually brighter. Yep, than cocaine. Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, so there you go. So flour and sugar started out healthy, very good plants, healthy plants, just like the coca leaf. But the refining of it is what made it unhealthy and made it addictive, okay? So the majority of us that are overweight, we're most likely addicted to flour and sugar. And I definitely have done a lot of thinking about my own journey and the 20 pounds that I gained last year. What was I eating? And I don't even want to say eating. What was I binging on, y'all? Let's just be honest here. Definitely sugar and flour. I wasn't binging on broccoli. I wasn't comfort eating broccoli, green beans, eggs, good healthy. No. I was comfort eating things like kettle corn, Oreos, tortilla chips. Yep, and my addiction grew and grew and grew. And so that's what I'm coming to terms with. The reason I'm having, because, I got back on the 5 and 1 and I'm like, why am I having such a hard time? Well, I laid down some terrible habits in 2020. Habits just as bad as I had in 2019, if not worse. And so now I'm having to overcome those. And it's been really hard, y'all. The best advice I can give y'all, don't do what I did. Follow this program to the letter because it works. The structure of the eating actually works. But you have got to create the new habits. Because if you don't, the first time you hit a brick wall, you're going to revert back to old habits. And sometimes those old habits are going to be worse than the original old habits. You know what I mean? And then you're going to have to spend time trying to break those habits, which is what I'm trying to do right now. But y'all, I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm learning and I'm understanding what happened to me. I'm understanding why it happened. I'm understanding how my brain has reacted to the food and the habits. It's laying down these neural pathways. And so it's like it's an automatic response now. All right, now not everybody out there. Some of you may be listening to me and you may be thinking, well, that's not me. I'm not an addict. And you might not be. Scott, he lost 30 pounds last year. He's not a food addict. He's not at all. And so I was telling him about all this stuff and he was like, I don't think I'm a food addict. And I'm like, no, I'm sure you're not. Because here I'll give you a little story. In our previous life, one thing Scott would always do, he works from his car. He's a property inspector. And so he does a lot of work from his car. He's in his car all day. So a lot of times in the afternoon, he would stop and get a Snickers bar. Now, I used to do the same thing when I would help him do inspections. I don't know why a Snickers bar. I think we thought it was healthy because it had peanuts in it. I don't know. You know, not that I get Snickers, but come on. So if I stopped and got a Snickers bar, I ate it. I mean, why are you going to buy a candy bar if you're not going to eat it right then? Sometimes Scott would eat his. Sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he would just put it in his little dash thing, and then at night he'd come home and throw it in the fridge. He'd throw it in the fridge, and it would be there for days. He would forget it was there. Not me. First of all, it's never making it to the fridge. It's barely making it out of the parking lot of the convenience store where I bought it. Food addict. Specifically, sugar addict. Okay? So just to test that theory, as if I didn't already know, I got out my LifeBook. Because in element 16, it deals all with food addiction. It's all about food addiction, okay? And there's a test in here. It's a susceptibility test. And I took it, and I had Scott take it. He barely registered on it. I was off the charts. Then in this other book I'm reading, she also recommends a susceptibility test for food addiction. We both took that. Once again, he was low, 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 and I was a 10, okay? So it's pretty confirmed that I'm definitely a food addict. So how do you overcome that? Well, just like you overcome any addiction, you have to get it out of your life. All right. Well, I'm on the 5-in-1, and so the Fuelings have some sugar in them. And so I was kind of like, well, how do I do that? And it kind of concerned me. I'm not going to lie. I started kind of thinking, there was a little bit of a dilemma there for me. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. Dr. Anderson recognizes that that's a real thing, yet he tells us how important these feelings are. So I had to connect the dots. So here's the thing. Yeah, I could go on a whole foods diet and give up all sugar. And I'm going to tell you, I've done that. I've done a Whole30. And I recommend it. It's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But sustaining it for real weight loss, super hard. It was super hard for me. It was super hard. The 5-in-1, it kept my addiction at bay. For 9 months, I was able to follow it and lose 60 pounds. It worked. The program worked. And the reason it did, my doctor explained it to me. Yes, sugar, and especially when you're an addict, and it causes that fluctuation of your blood sugar, then you need more, and you need more just to feel normal. Not necessarily to get high or, whatever. It's just to feel normal. Your body is craving it. But with this program, yes, there is sugar in the Fuelings. In fact, my favorite Fueling is the pudding, and it has 8 grams of sugar. But it also has, I should have looked, but I think it's like 13 or 14 grams of protein. So it balances it. So it's not hitting my brain, my body. I'm not having the insulin response that I would if I ate a Snickers bar. Then I got no protein in it, and I don't even know how many grams of sugar. So you see the difference? So that's why it works. It's a very, very, very effective tool. Now, once I'm into maintenance, which I was last year without this knowledge because I never picked up these books, and I went back to some old foods, that addiction woke up big. It just woke up, okay? And took over. So now, armed with this information, when I go into my maintenance, at that point, sugar and flour may become not part of my life anymore. And I know that sounds drastic, but I have to ask myself, what do I want more? Food freedom? Freedom to live my life in a body that brings me joy and happiness? Feeling good? Having energy? making life about the people I love and the experiences we share? Or do I want to make it all about the potato chips and donuts? That's gross. I mean, I'm just being real, y'all. So I don't know how much, am I going to have to totally abstain from sugar and flour? I'm not sure because I never did my maintenance correctly. So I'm going to do my maintenance exactly according to plan. And if I find I'm going to be so listening to my body, and I'm going to finish reading this book that he will probably address this in, if I feel like my leptin is being halted, or if I feel that addiction start to wake up, then I'll know what to do because I'll know what's causing it. Do you see what I'm saying? Knowledge is power, you guys. Knowledge is freedom. Boy, preach it, sister. I'm telling you, I'm excited. I'm on fire today about this because I feel like I've just unlocked something for myself that's going to just truly give me the freedom now to live in that optimal life that he tells us about in this book. And I don't know, I really respect this man. He's a very brilliant doctor, and I really kind of think he knows what he's talking about, y'all. Okay. As if he didn't. All right, so that was what I wanted to share with y'all today in Coach's Corner. Okay, on to my health update. Because I told y'all that I got back on 5 and 1, like March 8th or something like that. I can't remember exactly now. And as of last week, I weighed in. My last recorded weigh-in was on Good Friday, and I had lost another pound, so 4 pounds basically in a month, which is not good. Well, I mean, it's not that it's bad. It's just not as good as it could have been. Not as good as it could have been because I've struggled, y'all. I mean, I told y'all I had the grandkids and all that kind of thing. So one week I just kind of maintained, another week I lost a pound, whatever. But I was struggling, y'all, not so much because I had the grandkids here, because life's busy, some of those things, yes. But I was struggling, y'all, because I had woken up this terrible addiction that I've now understand. I'm so excited. And that's what I was battling. So now that I know that, with that knowledge, I'm going to go into this week or this month of April completely different. I'm going to watch my artificial sweeteners, because here's the other thing I didn't share with y'all. Artificial sweeteners, though they have 0 calories, because they are so ultra sweet, they can cause an insulin response in your body. They don't cause your blood sugar to go up because there's no actual sugar, but they can still cause that insulin response, which blocks the leptin, which makes you feel hungry, which makes it really hard to stick to your program. Something to think about. So I'm going into the month of April, and I'm going to do away with the artificial sweeteners in my life. The Fuelings don't have artificial sweeteners, okay? But things like my coffee creamer and Splenda and Walden Farm syrup, some of those things do. So I'm going to try to avoid those and see what my month brings, see how that changes. And I'm going to give y'all a monthly update on my weight. I'm not going to weigh every week. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to weigh once a month. I want to see a cumulative result. So I will give y'all an update on my next Coach's Corner, which will be at the end of April, okay? As far as the 5 and 1, what I eat in a day, I will start those up again next week. And we're going to continue to do the Let's Cook a Lean and Green. We're going to do all that next week. And then once a month, I'm going to do this in lieu of that, okay? Got through it, y'all. This is like the 3rd time I've tried to video this because I had so much I wanted to tell y'all that it was so long. It was so long. If y'all got any questions, if you're my client and you have any questions about the things I've shared with you, please reach out to me. If you have another coach, please reach out to them. If this is something you're considering doing, send me a message and we can talk. If you're on program, you better open this book. Both of them, okay? Both of them. You need to get in these books because, y'all, 5 and 1, you're going to lose weight. You follow the program, you're going to lose weight. If you want to keep it off and truly change your life, you've got to change your habits, period. You have to change your habits. That's the name of the game. Habits of health. All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. And until we get back together again for our next Coach's Corner, or Stitch Fix unboxing or whatever, y'all just have a blessed day. Y'all stay safe. You stay well. And I'll see you next time.